Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping in and checking us out here. Today I'm going to talk about my Barrett MRAD here in 6.5 Creedmoor. I recently used it in my Big Piney PRS match that I went to. Kind of want to do a gear breakdown a little bit again like I did the last video after the gas gun match. I like to keep it with that format so you can kind of understand what I shot during it and exactly how I thought it went, how I felt like I performed, pros, cons, minuses, anything that I could think out there for somebody who's looking at a rifle like this. Uh, you know, just try to be informative for people. Just to be upfront, I have no law enforcement, military, sponsorship, anything. I just like cool guns. I got this Barrett MRAD on sale from a wholesaler, so it was a little bit under MSRP for me, but it wasn't because of any type of deal that anybody else could have gotten. It's just I so happened to stumble upon it, and I was pretty lucky. That being said, this is the Barrett MRAD, the folding stock one, because this folds. So I got the SMR fixed stock. It has a quick change barrel system like they normally do. It's not the Mark 22 special military rifle. It's just the one that you could buy from any dealership that offers Barrett products. This one is currently chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. That's what I shot at the match. I also have a 300 PRC barrel for it. It utilizes their quick change barrel system, which is just two set screws, or tension screws I should probably call them. Loosen those up, undo your bolt, and you can pull them right out, put a new barrel in, and switch your magazine and switch your bolt head. Really simple solution and really easy way to switch barrels out. If you have everything kind of lined up, ready to go, you can probably switch between calibers within a minute. Fairly simple process. This Barrett MRAD is nearly stock. The only thing that's really different to it, other than factory, is I have a Really Right Stuff universal rail on it. It fits really well. I like Really Right Stuff R-lock, arc rail locks, and I like how it keeps, so it's really solid on there. My tripod that my camera is currently on uses the same system, so it's really comfortable and it's really easy of use, so I like to keep it to that system. Second thing that is a little different than factory stock is this is not the factory stock trigger. The factory stock trigger, I know people have probably seen it. If you're looking at this video, there's millions of others. I shouldn't say millions. There's other ones out there with more views than mine will ever get, but that talk about possible issues when you go to adjust that factory trigger. This is the Timney trigger that you can buy for them. I didn't make any adjustments to my previous trigger. I never had any problems with the original trigger in it. I just felt like I wanted a little bit more light and crisp trigger for the Barrett, since I'm using it kind of as a fun precision toy to take to matches and stuff like that. I also want to do some hunting with it out west. Hopefully I get a chance to do some mule, elk, moose, anything bigger game. Yeah, that's why I got the 300 PRC barrel for it. And I'll also try out some ELR stuff. But again, I wanted to change that trigger out to something a little bit lighter. This trigger, so it's clear, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine, but it is extremely light. It's probably under a pound, I would say, just from the feel of it, maybe like 8 ounces from the factory of this Timney trigger, but it is super crisp. It's a single stage and very little take up whatsoever. Very, very comfortable, very, very nice. I like it a lot better over the factory trigger. No adjustment made to it, and it's extremely safe. I tried to make it go off with the safety on as hard as I humanly possibly can before I actually ran into match. I put the safety on, racked the bolt forward and motored it with my finger on the trigger, trying to get it to go off, and it never did. So I feel pretty confident in the safety of the system. Another thing I always notice on certain comments about the MRAD is the security of the bolt tension mechanism. I check my bolt tension my bolts tension every single time, the torquing of them. I go out to shoot, I know I'm going to run, a couple hundred rounds through it in a match, or 150, what have you. And regardless if it's the 6.5 Creedmoor or the 300 PRC, I always check it. You do your 140 inch-pounds of torque, good to go. That being said, I've never noticed it not already being torqued between, each time I shoot it. If I don't, change out the barrels or something, it's pretty consistent with how it's torqued. So I have a lot of confidence in the system itself. I don't see there to be a reason, as long as you maintain your rifle of choice properly, like any good boy should, it's going to work. This rifle is extremely accurate. Surprisingly, who would have thought that the military would have picked something as accurate? With my hand loads that I am using, I'm getting just under half MOA pretty consistently. And with my hand loads as well, I've run 500 rounds of 6.5 Creedmoor through it, and it is extremely consistent no matter what I'm doing. I won't give out the recipe, but it's essentially Hornady 140 grain ELDMs and H4350. You can get it pretty much anywhere in Lapua brass. So as long as you do your part in trying to be consistent between your loads or what you buy, it's going to work for you fairly well. And another kind of critique or note on its consistency is whenever I pull the barrel out, I pull the barrel out to clean it every time because it's just easy to do. I'll put solvent in it, brush it, put the barrel back in, go to recheck zero at your zero range for the match or whatever, and the zero hasn't shifted at all. It's pretty incredible. I have other quick change barrel system rifle systems. I have a LMT AR and I have a Terminus Zeus custom bolt action. The return to zero on those systems is nothing like this Barrett MRAD, and I am super thrilled and super happy with it. Even whenever I'm going from 6.5 Creedmoor to 300 PRC, is extremely consistent. Not to say that they're lining up exactly, but I know that with my 300 PRC, it's about a mil difference lower, and then probably a mil and a half to the left. And I can just set that up in my Kestrel or my ballistic app of choice. And whenever I go to swap barrels, I don't necessarily need to re-zero that day. I can pretty much affirm that it's going to be pretty consistent going between each time I torque it down. As long as you do your appropriate part of maintaining your equipment, making sure that all your screws, so your scope system, your torque system on your barrel, as long as you properly maintain it, it's going to be pretty accurate, in my opinion, for my system that I have experience with. I have just shy of 1,000 rounds in total, I believe, between my barrels for this rifle, and I absolutely love it. One thing you may notice is this one's green. It's spray paint. Broke it down, spray painted it, and I think it looks really nice. Wonderful system altogether, zero complaints. The only thing I'm going to get to in a bit is talking about the match itself and my critiques of more or less myself than anything. I'm not an amazing shoot every day kind of person. I am fairly busy in my normal life, and I don't have a lot of free time to go to a range. I also don't have a range nearby me that I can shoot past 100 yards with. So I do some practice, maybe twice a month, if that, and I shoot a match. My match days are more or less my practice because that's where I get to try new things and learn from my mistakes. That's the thing that gives me the most joy in shooting sports overall, whether it be PRS, USPSA, IDPA, PCSL, TAC-2 gun. I've shot them all, trap and skeet. I like learning from new experiences, and while yes, practicing the same thing over and over again, you become a master of it, it also doesn't necessarily always help you with a new skill. So I really like problem solving. I like getting thrown into bad situations or different situations, as to say, and figuring out how I can perform and how I can get myself out of it. Going to the match itself. Wonderful match at Big Piney in Houston, Missouri. Wonderful facility. The one thing, it was extremely hot. I think it got up to 102 degrees real temperature, and the heat index was much higher than that. I know where I'm from, that same day got up to 130 heat index. So, fairly hot day. And with Big Piney, fortunately, the walking distance between each stage was not that great. It was just usually 10, 15 yards total. Really easy to move. This system doesn't weigh a lot, even though it's a large system. It's only about 17, 18 pounds with my additional weight on there. And it's easy to lug around, but when it's really hot outside and miserable, you don't really want to be moving all that much if you can help it. Fortunately, Big Piney was set up to be kind of an easy day at a range, so that was great. Facilities were really nice and clean. The targets were very visible. One target did go down on the moving stage, which unfortunately in the videos for some odd reason, didn't capture. I think it was partially my fault because whenever we were shooting the moving stage, I had shot and I think I hit the corner of the mover and it broke off an ear, so it started to dangle. And then I guess later on somebody else hit the other corner of it and then it completely fell off. They tried fixing it, but fortunately for the scores, they omitted that stage from the overall score, so it didn't hurt anybody. But it was definitely fun. I haven't shot much of movers. I've done it in USPSA and IDPA and TAC-2 gun, which is much shorter, but doing it at distance is a really good learning experience, and definitely need to know your ballistics and kind of get the gist of how to use your ballistic calculators. But that being said, wonderful match, lot of fun, great people as always. My own stance and my own positioning within the match, I was fairly happy with how I performed. Again, I'm not super experienced. I've only been doing PRS off and on for the last 2 years. I go to maybe 5 matches a year total. So everything is a learning experience for me. I'm not a person that has a lot of time or the resources to send thousands and thousands of dollars at the range. So I like to dry fire a lot in my basement and try to work on the positional stuff. And for that matter, I felt really proud of myself. My wobble zone overall for each positional was much tighter than it has been in a long time. And I feel like that is just attributed to, I put weights on my rifle for the first time. Now, is the balance point perfect? No, it's actually about right here at the end of this rail. I wish it was probably an inch and a half-ish further forward. That way, whenever I shot and, went to run the bolt, it probably wouldn't come off as much. Speaking of the bolt, one thing about the Barrett MRAD, if you're going to get this system, is whenever you're going to go onto a piece of brass and close your bolt, it has like a little bit of a hitch because it's getting onto that lip. Now, if you're running hard and pushing it on, it's probably not that big of a deal. But whenever you're trying to maintain your target acquisition as you're running the bolt, as I was trying to do, you have a little bit of a hitch, in which case you just kind of give it a little extra push and over. You may be able to see that in the video, me kind of getting over some of those rounds and kind of giving a little English to it, I guess you can say. But other than that, it cycles perfectly. It's a captured bolt, so it's not like it's got a lot of slop to it. It's really easy to feed as long as you're doing your part and you have properly sized ammunition and made ammunition. You're going to be just fine for feeding. So whenever I was originally looking at this rifle and I was looking at other rifles of its caliber, or in the same class, I should say, because caliber is a little vague, but you know, the MRAD, the Accuracy International AXSR, the CADX Kraken, and the new, it would be not even thought of at the time, or I guess it would be thought of, but not released at the time, the Seek and Sick, all, you know, within that class, or even the Sacco M10. The one thing I was kind of worried about when it comes to shooting positionally is a barricade stop. You know, most PRS rifles, you want something to ram your bag and get it really tied up against there for your balance point. And I kind of thought that would be a big deal because without the magazine in here, like, you don't really think of it having a good spot to run against your barricade because it's actually fairly smooth here. But I believe with the way that they made the magazines and the system here, it's really tight in the mag well. But with this ribbing here and the way it fits, I have no fear of ramming up against that with my bag. And I feel like the magazines themselves were made to kind of be their barricade stop. So they actually function fairly well for that. And I personally was able to ram it up against and be pretty balanced and have a good wobble zone and felt pretty confident whenever I broke shots for the most part. Really the only failure when it comes to my own placement or my shot probability is that it's my own failure. Again, I'm not super seasoned, so I'm not going to be claiming, oh, well, I missed 2 shots, it's got to be the rifle. I'm not that naive. If I miss, it's because me. Plain and simple. The gun shoots super consistently. It's a matter of I pulled a shot or I didn't read the wind correctly. Speaking of reading wind correctly, if you guys can see it, I'm using the Bushnell Match Pro, which is a cheaper for class scope. However, it is phenomenal. I mean, for the money, I have 0 complaints, and I would easily recommend it to anybody. Again, I bought everything, and nobody knows who I am, so it doesn't matter. But it's super easy, tracks really well. Maintaining it is super easy. Very, very bright. Very easy to see mirage and wind in the scope. It's just my own learning curve. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend the scope at all, and I would not hesitate to put this on more rifles. I have Leopold Mark V's, I have Steiners, I've shot through Night Forces, I've looked through and shot through Zero Compromise scopes. They're all great, but again, for the money, you can get this for like $600. Perfectly fine scope. I would not hesitate if you needed something cheaper for a setup to start off with before you went to a more premier scope of some type. But yeah, the Barrett MRAD shoots perfectly fine. Again, the balance point is probably my biggest gripe about it. I eventually would like to get me a suppressor for it to help with that weight a little bit and also keep it a little bit quieter and kind of reduce that concussive blast to my own face. That's a really big thing for precision shooting, not having that big flinch whenever you let the trigger go or break your shot. I mean, that's a big deal, and I just can't get one right now. I hope to eventually, move a little bit and change my situation for that. But again, Barrett MRAD is a fantastic firearm. I wouldn't hesitate to for people to try it. And in fact, if anybody ever meets me at a match and is curious to how it shoots, I always bring plenty of ammunition just out of my own preparedness and anxiety. So feel free to ask to shoot it after the match. I'd be more than happy to let anybody do it. It's great. Magazines are a little bit bigger, but have pockets. There's other companies that make magazine carriers out there too. I think Arbor Arms is one of them. I think maybe HRT makes one as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there's plenty of people out there that make accessories for it. again, if you're concerned about the trigger, try the Timney out. It's the same price, if not a little bit cheaper than the Barrett one, and they're stupid simple to remove. To remove the triggers, all you gotta do is push your breakdown button, and then you can just wiggle out your safety, and then your trigger comes right out. So they're actually really easy to maintain in terms of breaking down in the field or anything like that. But it's a wonderful system for people to try out. No complaints whatsoever. I will gladly shoot it a million times over until it completely disintegrates. But yeah, have any questions or concerns, feel free to go down in the comments, like, subscribe, ask questions, tell me you hate me, whatever you need to do. Shit on the Barrett MRAD, but I think it's a great system. I think more people should give it a try before they make opinions on it. Yeah, so everybody take care, go out, have some fun, do some shooting, be good to one another, all that fun stuff. Thank you very much.